back to order the LDC meeting. Jay? You have a quick report for us?
See what I say.
I know, but you did put that on Facebook.
Okay, thank you very much for providing an opportunity here, folks. Hopefully everybody got my report. I had sent out the wrong one previously, yesterday, thanks to Peggy, caught that. So hopefully you've all received it. I'll start off with a follow-up on what Marshall was reporting on the California conference. That was an excellent program to attend. You know, I try to get out and network amongst the ag and food processing industries here in New York. This allowed us to get out beyond that normal envelope of what we see and what we hear. There were some fairly mainstream operations. Had the opportunity to sit down with I think he was the vice president of the poultry company that supplies all of the poultry for Chick-fil-A. I think it was $1 million a week, I think he said he was providing to Chick-fil-A. So we had those opportunities to talk with individuals to see if there was any interest in New York State, but more importantly, just to learn more about what the trends are. So with that said, I'm going to transition from the marketing side of things more to our agricultural industry and what did we glean that we can bring back to agriculture. The second day of the conference, they tended to focus more on technology and on plant-based food products. And of particular interest, if anybody has paid attention to Burger King, right now they are selling their Impossible Whoppers. And Impossible Whoppers taste pretty good. I had to try one out the day after we got back. The Impossible Whopper is a plant-based burger. The folks that made it are Impossible Foods. They're based in California, and they are growing by leaps and bounds. They just announced that Wegmans will be carrying their products. If that's any indication of the size, how fast their product line is growing. That's great. It's great that agriculture offers opportunities for every dietary desire, concern, need. Potentially it presents opportunity for our farms. The plant-based burgers made by Impossible Foods, by Beyond Meats, and there's a couple other smaller companies. Most of the protein in those burgers is supplied through soybeans. That potentially is something that could come from here as we grow lots of soybeans. So there is a potential local connection. So what I think our takeaway, what our action item from this is, and I'm going to ask the Ag Subcommittee to gather together here at the end of the month. I don't have an exact date yet. Our action item from this is to try and figure out, do we need to be looking at how we can provide a pathway for our local industry? And I say this very carefully because it's a fine line to walk with our existing agricultural industry, and I think I can attest to that. Is there a pathway that we can lay out for agriculture here in the North Country to start to take advantage of what I see as a growing trend in plant-based food products, especially plant-based meats? Doesn't make sense to say it that way, but that's how they're referring to it. So I think we need to take a closer look at this and see if there's an opportunity that we can be taking advantage of, and try to figure out how do we help our agricultural industry here in the North Country take a look at. I believe it will have an impact on agriculture here in New York State. As this trend is growing, that will encourage people to move away from animal-based products.
Well, you know, they just come out with that new science report that says red meats are good for you now.
Yep, and I read it yesterday. I think it was Dave that sent it to me.
Marshall sent it to us.
Or Marshall sent it to us. So here's my concern. Here's my worry over what I learned in California, or what we learned in California, is that the Impossible Meats, and I'll use them as an example, their marketing is based on people that want the vegetarian diet, and that's fine, that's great, but they were very blunt in their comments in the conference that animal agriculture is bad for the environment, that we are a large contributor. Animal agriculture is a large contributor to climate change. And so that's how they're marketing these products. The CEO has been very open in his comments about wanting to end animal agriculture. That's the worry side of the industry, is that we've got companies that are trendy, they're growing in popularity, and they are very bluntly attacking animal agriculture. And so I worry about what that impact on our industry will be. And it's not just beef, it's also dairy, because dairy supplies a large portion of our beef supply here in the United States, in addition to milk, cheeses, and ice cream and all those other great things. So how do we help the industry, number one, recognize the opportunities through these trends? Number two, recognize the potential threats to these trends, and adapt so that they can handle both at the same time. That's my greatest worry with this. And it's going to affect more than just beef production. In my report, you see I talk about Finless Foods. That company, not on the market yet, but they want to take cell samples from different fish species and replicate muscle tissue through cellular regeneration to provide the bluefin tuna steak, or to provide the haddock fillet, without ever going back to the ocean again. As these things grow, it is going to have an impact on animal-based agriculture, whether it's a beef operation, a dairy operation, or some fishermen off the coast of New England. So I will be pulling together the Ag Subcommittee. It is also a discussion that the Ag Development Council actually has already started. They didn't quite realize it yet, but they already started working on this, which I'll explain in a second. And we need to prepare our industry. Do I believe animal agriculture will go away in the next 50 years? No. Not even the next 100. There's always going to be people like myself who enjoy a good steak, and I do.
I think the focus needs to be on identifying these products, because when they bring them in, like almond milk, they call it almond milk. It's not made from cow, it's not made from, they should call it almond drink. They should force them to call it something that it is, not something that it isn't. Because that carries over to the industry, and it gives the industry ultimately a bad name because of it.
And that's a very good point, John. When Laura Kilmer was speaking at the conference, she was very careful to present a warm picture towards meat products. You know, meat tastes good. People enjoy the taste of meat. It has nutritional benefits. She was very good at that. But then she went on the attack with the anti-animal agriculture message. When I talked to her privately, she was very demanding in wanting me to say animal agriculture is bad for the environment. So, yeah, I think we do need to be trying to point that out. But they are being smart in what they're doing. They're not calling this plant-based patties. They're calling it plant-based burger. They are calling it plant-based meat. The same way we're seeing the nut juices being called milk. They're using terms that people already have that sentimental value of to market their products, and it's going to be very difficult to overcome that. I think the industry needs to be fully aware that we're probably not going to change that. They're going to take advantage of the marketing and the sentimental value that already exists for those products. So, let me transition, if you will, into the next part of my report. We need to bring together the Ag Subcommittee. We need to bring the Ag Council together. We need to have some very serious discussions about where the future of agriculture is in Jefferson County and what paths do we need to help create for it to get there that might not already exist. Not saying diversification away from dairy, not at all. Dairy is what we do best. Don't want to send a message that farms should move away from dairy. They should do what they can do best. But if there's opportunities that will exist for the future and are growing for the future, we need to make sure our farms are aware of those so that they can potentially take advantage of those. That's the key message, Marcus. Not diversification away, but how do we take advantage of other opportunities that are growing. The other piece that I wanted to talk about, and I'll try to wrap up here very quickly, is there's the opportunity and now there's the threat side. And that's where, and it was actually very timely, the Ag Council asked for the creation of an ag issues. At the state level, it's called a response team. We're not calling it that. We're calling it an agricultural issues guidance team. And with that guidance team, it's a small group of individuals that I've identified and asked to participate. They have two jobs. Number one, when there's a critical issue out there, such as an animal abuse case, this team will help formulate, if necessary, responses that the industry can give to help overcome the negativity that might be seen from that particular case. So what positive messaging can we provide in response to some bad individual circumstance? So that's the response type thing. On the proactive side, which is where I hope we've spent a lot of time focusing with this team, is providing a better structure and the talking points and the tools that the industry can then utilize to roll out these messages. One that would come to mind in response to the plant-based agriculture issue is talking about all of the work, all of the progress that animal agriculture has made in reducing our carbon footprint over the past several decades. We've done a lot of work, we've made a lot of progress, and we do horrible at telling the public about it because nobody's there providing structure. And it's a very mishmash of somebody does this a little bit, somebody does that a little bit. I'm hoping, no guarantee, but I'm hoping that this team will coalesce and be able to provide a structure for agriculture here in Jefferson County anyways, to start to do a better job of telling its message, to focus that message and to focus those tools. So that's where the Ag Guidance Team is going to come into play. I thought it was timely because the council met before I went to California and wanted this formed, and when I got back from California, one of the first things I did, because it really hit me in the face out there, was to form this team. So I'll move on.
We gotta wrap it up here.
Yep. Yep.
Wait.
Then just the Ag Council itself, Paul Mason is the new chairperson. At the next meeting of the board, I will ask you to have a resolution to appoint Adam Minor as the Farm Bureau representative. That's it.
Thanks, Jay.
Thank you.
We have resolution 1003-2019-05 to charge off administrative services billing to in-kind services.
I move to accept resolution as presented.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution carries. Anything else for the LDC, Don?
Couple quick things. The audit continues to go on. We had three yesterday, three representatives, auditors from the controller's office, and they're sitting in the other room this morning, I believe. Transportation Committee of the Metropolitan Planning Organization met Tuesday. They provided an interesting report for those of us who sit on that committee. A lot having to do with new transportation links, all related to our business of creating jobs. Without going into too much detail now because of time, that's a very important aspect. And by the way, lots of good movement there. Finally, we have proposals to expand the city bus lines. We have proposals to create some kind of a linkage directly to Fort Drum from the city. There's lots of things going on, all very positive. Okay.
Motion to adjourn the LDC meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed?